Hey guys, here's a weird fact for you. France's longest border is not in Europe, but actually in South America. Let's break down why. Long before Europeans showed up, French Guiana was home to Amerindian peoples like the Arawak and Carib tribes. They lived there for thousands of years, thriving off the rainforests and rivers. Fast forward to the early 1600s, and here comes the French. They wanted to grab a piece of Americas. So they set up some early settlements, but it didn't exactly go smoothly. The conditions were brutal: disease, conflict, tough environment. So at one point, the French actually left it, and so the Dutch swooped in around 1654 and took over for a bit. Then, after a whole lot of back and forth, including a short Portuguese takeover during the Napoleonic Wars, French Guiana officially landed back under French control in 1817, and from then on it stayed French. In the 1800s, French Guiana became famous or infamous for its penal colonies. Yeah, I'm talking about Devil's Island, a place so rough that many people went insane mainly due to harsh punishments and slavery. Thousands of prisoners were shipped across the Atlantic to basically rot away in the tropical heat. This dark chapter lasted until the camps finally closed in 1947. But even before that, after World War II, France was rethinking what it meant to be a colony. In 1946, France passed Law Number 46-451, and boom, French Guiana, along with Guadeloupe, Martinique, and the Réunion, became an official overseas department. That meant it wasn't just some colony anymore. It had the exact same legal status as places like Normandy or Paris. French citizens, French laws, full rights. Today, French Guiana is fully integrated into France. It uses the euro, is governed under the French constitution, and it elects representatives to the French National Assembly and Senate, just like any department back in Europe. There's even a prefect appointed by the President of France, kind of like a mini president managing things locally. And get this, because it's technically part of France, it's also part of the European Union. French Guiana is the largest outermost region of the EU, which sounds fancy, but it basically means it gets EU funding and has to follow EU rules, even though it's in South America. Plus, it's home to the Guiana Space Center, a major European spaceport where rockets get launched into orbit. Yep, some of the most important satellite launches on Earth happen right there in the jungle. Alright, but why hasn't French Guiana gone independent like so many other former colonies? Good question. In fact, on January 10th, 2010, there was a referendum asking the people if they wanted more autonomy, to become an overseas collectivity, a little less tied to Paris. The result? About 70.4% of voters chose to stay as a regular department of France. Only around 29.6% wanted more independence. Why? Because being part of France comes with some pretty big perks: access to French healthcare, education, social security, infrastructure funding, and of course, EU money. For a region facing a high cost of living and economic challenges, that support is a huge deal. Sure, there are occasional protests and demands for better treatment, and fair enough, but full independence just isn't super popular. So now you know why. History, law, citizenship, space rockets, and a 2010 referendum that said we're staying. Catch you next time.